First at 4, a 26-18 vote. The South Carolina Senate moved to adjourn today without passing new election maps.
Lawmakers will not meet again until June 10th after the state's primary election. The move likely means redistricting will not happen this election cycle. State Senator Tom Davis of Beaufort blasting the rushed redistricting process, pointing out that the final maps had numerous errors, including districts that don't exist, and that the Washington consultant who created them only testified to the House by Zoom for less than 8 minutes and did not take any questions.
Now, I spoke to Senator Davis via Zoom just shortly after that vote.
And I think there was a realization in the Senate that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to be up here in Columbia drafting new congressional lines based on a map we had no role in developing at the very same time that our constituents are voting pursuant to maps that are already in place, and maps, by the way, that the United States Supreme Court held constitutional in 2024.
And the fact that in this chamber, we're talking about outsourcing one of those important horizontal checks and balances to a consultant in Washington, D.C., who didn't even come down here to talk to us, who wouldn't even answer questions from us, it boggles my mind that we're thinking about doing this, Senator from Calhoun. I don't understand.
Meanwhile, just a state over in Alabama, a similar decision on redistricting. A federal court has temporarily blocked Alabama's plan for new congressional districts that could help Republicans win an additional seat in the midterm elections. A 3-judge panel in the state's long-running redistricting case issued that ruling today. It blocks, at least temporarily, the state's plan to use a different map in an August 11th special primary. Now, the redistricting frenzy, part of a broader push by President Trump to try to hold on to Republicans' slim House majority in the November elections.
Now back to South Carolina. Early voting did start today in the state. Voters will choose candidates for governor, a U.S. Senate, as several House district seats are up for grabs, and some local offices during the election. And workers there reminding voters that their early voting location may be different from their election day polling site. So it is best to make sure you double check where you're supposed to vote before you go.
And one of the other key local races in the Lowcountry is for sheriff of Beaufort County. After 28 years, the seat is now open. Sheriff P.J. Tanner stepping down after nearly 3 decades. The man Tanner endorsed is one of his own, Doug Seifert. Seifert's worked in a variety of capacities for 2 decades at the department before stepping down to run this year. He says he wants to keep open lines of communication with other departments and keep the job going that Tanner did, protecting the community and keeping Beaufort County safe. One of the ways he wants to do that, cracking down on a gang problem he says is in the county.
Pressure on, and that's going to be my job to dismantle them. You know, I want to get out there and I want to take care of these gangs and stop the rhetoric that they're causing in our community. And that's a big deal. A lot of it has to do with drug activity and things like that. And it needs to end, and it needs to end on my watch.
Now, Seifert is facing off with longtime law enforcement official JoJo Woodward in the primaries. We've got much more from Seifert coming up tonight on News 3 at 5. Now, as we said, Seifert's running in that. If you'd like to get any more information about all the elections in the Lowcountry as well in Georgia for the runoffs that are coming, just go to WSAV.com/electionhq.
And some big news, this is very important, coming out of the Lowcountry and also Hilton Head Island residents. You need to know about this. Novant Health Hilton Head Medical Center ending its labor and delivery services in July. As of July 17th, those services will instead be provided at Coastal Carolina Medical Center. OBGYN appointments will continue at the hospital, and no one is losing their position because of the change. Novant Health says the center isn't being used as much because of Hilton Head's aging population. Hilton Head Medical Center accounts for only 20% of births. Coastal Carolina is responsible for the other 80%. You can read the full statement about the change on our website, WSAV.com.
Savannah police looking for a person responsible for a double shooting last night. They're asking for the public's help. Investigators say it happened around 10:30 on Randolph Street near the intersection of President Street and General McIntosh Boulevard. We're told that one man was seriously hurt is in stable condition. The other man shot in the leg, expected to be okay. Now, if you have any information that can help in this case, call Crime Stoppers at 912-234-2020.
New details related to a deadly crash that happened this month. The man who allegedly caused that accident was in court this morning. Dabi Jansasoy of Colombia had been at that hearing to discuss the 6 charges he's facing in the death of Michael Sharp. It happened May 1st when the driver's cars collided head on. Sharp went into cardiac arrest on scene. He later died at the hospital. In court today, Corporal James McKee of Effingham County's Sheriff's Office described the results of his investigation. He says Jansasoy had a blood alcohol content level of 0.197 while he was driving. McKee also found out that Jansasoy did not use his brakes directly before the collision happened, and right now he is on an ICE hold, so that bond was denied today.
At the same time, Michael's wife, Crystal Sharp, mourning the life of her husband. She describes him as an outdoorsman, a loving partner, and a great father. But in an instant, his life was taken during a hit and run. At the time of the crash, they were actually talking on the phone. Now Crystal speaking out about that moment that her entire world changed. WSV's Isabella Baez has their story.
I wasn't thinking the worst. Just thinking that, he was just hurt that, bad enough that he just couldn't talk or something, but just praying that he would be okay.
Crystal Sharp says she was on the phone with her husband, Michael Sharp, who goes by Danny. She says they were having a regular conversation when all of a sudden she couldn't hear him anymore. At that time, Danny was involved in a hit and run crash on Old Augusta Road after 27-year-old Dabi Jansasoy reportedly crossed over the line and hit Danny's car. Meanwhile, Sharp was still on the phone, left in the dark.
No one would tell me how bad it was. And our family found out that they were taking him to Memorial Hospital. And so we went up there, and that's when they told us.
Danny passed due to his injuries, and Jansasoy was arrested and charged with homicide by vehicle, reckless driving, DUI, failure to maintain lanes, and driving while unlicensed. According to a statement made by the Department of Homeland Security, Jansasoy came into the country illegally from Colombia in 2023. Sharp saying his actions now leaves her family with a missing piece.
But I do know that regardless of a person's status and ethnicity, that many people make poor choices to drink and drive, and it could have been anyone driving the vehicle.
The community has been rallying behind Sharp and their 2 young kids, showing their support through GoFundMe, which has raised almost $50,000.
I think it's incredible the outpouring of love and the prayers and support and kindness that they've all shown to me and the kids during the difficult time that we're going through.
Sharp says at the beginning she was filled with anger, but is now on the road to healing, saying she believes there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
I do, yeah. We'll make it through.
As we learn more about this case, of course, we will update you on air and online. We've got a link to the GoFundMe and information about a fundraiser, which is taking place June 13th and 14th to help support the Sharp family. All that information is on our website, WSAV.com.
A new law passed by the Georgia General Assembly will give local businesses and property owners the chance to sue local government for the way they control public nuisances.
WSAV's Jillian Coles joins us now in studio with what this law means and how it could affect the host city.
Andrew Tina, House Bill 295, which recently passed into law, allows property owners to sue if they think local government isn't doing enough to enforce laws against things like public camping, vandalism, and panhandling. Representative Jesse Petrie, who co-sponsored the bill, says it was made to enhance safety in Georgia. He says he often receives calls that businesses are losing potential customers because people feel unsafe due to nearby panhandling or encampments. The property owners who do decide to sue are only able to do so for the amount that they pay in property taxes. He says the bill will force local government to enforce nuisance ordinances set in place.
To think that you can just let people live anywhere they want, do whatever they do, and that somehow is humane is a failure. That's not the solution. We can do better, and I hope this bill, to your good question, encourages local governments to do better, but not to simply ignore a problem by letting a subset of people violate the rights of the balance of the population in their community. and to devalue their property.
Now, the law is set to go into effect on July 1st. Representative Petrie says property owners would have to prove that those creating a nuisance are the reason their business is experiencing loss of property value in order to sue the city. Jillian Coles, WSAV News 3 on your side.